again, welcome back. Today I'm going to look at the Hammer Cavemen series, which had dinosaurs in it for 2 of the 4 films. So this is like 1 million years BC, which was a hit. There was Prehistoric Women, which wasn't officially tied, but feels tied anyway, so I always count it. There's When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth, which is my favourite of them all, and there's Creatures the World Forgot, which is the final one, which is a caveman film without dinosaurs, as it's known. Even though Prehistoric Women didn't have dinosaurs either, but it wasn't part of this kind of publicly trilogy of dinosaurs and man thing. So yeah, it's scientifically dodgy, these films, because mankind and dinosaurs never coexisted. Ever. They're separated by so many millions of years. It's not even barely realistic in any possible way, but it is fun. It's fun to imagine it. You suspend your disbelief and you're going to have a good time. So this thing was started off with a remake of 1 million BC. So they added the word years. 1 million years BC. They hired Ray Harryhausen to do the effects. They had Don Chaffee, who had done a Harryhausen film, to direct it. And they made a big hit with 1 million years BC. It's fine. Is the best way I can say it. It's enjoyable. One thing you find about these movies is if you can get a sibling rivalry between 2 cavemen, that can cover most of your plot. Really. So this one starts out with a father, played by Robert Brown, who became one of the M's for the Bond series, has 2 sons, one of which is very accomplished and smart, and one of which is a dummy. He's a bit nervous about the smart one, because he's worried about him not usurped the smart one, so he chucks him out of the tribe and keeps the dumb one, figuring the dumb one's not ambitious enough to do anything. So the smart one has to go and traipse through the land and avoid dinosaurs and find this other tribe of blondes, because the original tribe you see are living near this volcano, which we'll come into play towards the end of the film, believe it or not. So they were all like dark haired, so they find these blonde haired tribes. Now every tribe has this in every film, so it's basically the same wigs. Essentially. The same costumes, probably. And probably some of the same actors in the background. And so, the blonde ones are much cooler, and they're much more relaxed, and they're much happier. You know. But, one of the women, played by Raquel Welch, falls in love with this, darker figure from the other tribe. And she leaves with him. After they've had a dinosaur fight in the tribe, and they kill a dinosaur, she goes back with him. They have to fight the brother. They're chased by the other tribe follows them through the wastelands. There's a fight between brothers. The father at this point is getting old and past it. Then when all the tensions come to a head, and of course there's another girlfriend, another woman who is in love with the hero caveman, who fights with Raquel Welch, of course, for the cat fight for the scenes. But eventually, the volcano goes off, and a lot of them are killed, and then they have to live together. The people survive, have to live together. And that's the moral of the story. There's lots of, attacks by dinosaurs, escapes, people been thought dead, but they're not. It's not the most amazingly scripted narrative. It's pretty threadbare. But enjoyably stupid. Because cavemen and dinosaurs, if it's not stupid, it's kind of annoying. This one, they had not figured out. They were just thinking in cliches in this one. Nobody is going to get acting awards for this film. The best person is Martine Bestwick as the jealous, spurned woman who's in love with the hero but who's ignored and who has to fight with Raquel Welch and gets killed at the end. She's the best thing in it by a mile. Raquel Welch is fine, but she's phoned in. It's like She doesn't want to be there in this stupid movie. But she does the best she can. Everyone does the best they can. It's like, I only saw this a few weeks ago and I'm in trouble remembering all the plot details. That's how forgettable this film is for plot. All you remember is the dinosaur fights. The dinosaurs attack repeatedly. They're very enjoyable. Ray Harryhausen does a good job, even though there's one point where Hammer put in an effect of something animal with a bit stuck to it to introduce the dinosaurs. And then, of course, after that, they got the much better dinosaur with Ray Harryhausen. It's really stupid, that bit. But it's a very enjoyable film. It's trashy as hell. It's, there's nothing to really recommend it beyond it's fun. That's all it is. It's fun. It's not as fun as the next one in the series, or the next dinosaur movie in the series, for me at least. But it's well done. For what it is, a silly movie that made probably way more than it should have. But it was just that kind of silly movie that caught on. Then we had Prehistoric Women, which was just another one where we use the wigs in this stupid movie about this guy. They're in Africa. This hunter's hunting this tiger. The tiger gets wounded. He has to go and finish it off where he's attacked by these tribes who follow the white rhino. Not the white rabbit from the Matrix, the white rhino. Then he finds that his world's connected psychically to another world through this cave, where he ends up in this other world where these people are enslaved. These women are enslaved by these other women. So the light-haired women are enslaved by the dark-haired women. Hence, reusing the wigs from 1 million years BC. I assume, because all the wigs look very similar. And there's this white rhino that everyone's saying when this white rhino returns, they will be able to be saved from slavery. And there's these monsters that women are sacrificed to. And it's complete tosh. Like, there's a hero who's a total git as well. And it's like, it's one of those things where the hero is annoying. You're like, technically you should win, but I don't really like you very much, so good luck. And they even sideline it for a lot of the movie, because it's almost like the people involved knew that the best stuff was the women bit, and there's a guy who's useless. So my team best pick is the warrior queen of the tribe. Not to be confused by the warrior queen, the Hammer film, which I'm not covering here. So she's the horrible person who was enslaved in the past, and now she's a slaver, and she's cruel, and she'll call out different blondes to be sacrificed to these gods, creatures, things, and she's loving it. She's the best part of the film. She's the best part of the film by a mile. She's camping up. There's a blonde who's opposing her. She's not bad either. There's a character. She's like way better than the hero. But this is not a film of giving good parts to the actors. This is a film of just do your best and try and choose scenery as much as you possibly can. Kind of like 1 million years BC. I mean, this is not Hammer at its best for thespians. This is not like Peter Cushing or Christopher Lee having some decent parts. This is like just grunt a lot or say these terrible lines. So this is not a good film. I adore it, but it's not a good film. It's that thing of the kind of Wizard of Oz, Matrix thing of going from one world where you felt you knew it to this other world that's got all these problems. You have to solve the problems before you get back. And I mean, it is kind of... When I first saw it, I'm sure I was drunk when I watched it, because I really liked it the first time. Watching it again, this is a very tacky film. I still enjoy it. But it's a different world thing, and there's this whole thing of was it real or was it not, and it's trashy. It's really trashy. I'm trying to think of any way to describe it very well trashy, and it's not possible. It's really trashy. But it is enjoyable for how short it is. It's like they're padding this as much as they can to get to feature length. And they're doing everything they can to just... they have like a fake uprising that goes really slowly of all the men. Originally you think there's no men, and then some of the men are all enslaved in this cave. And how does reproduction work now? Who knows? But there's lots of padding in that cave, and they escape as well. And him trying to lead them, this guy trying to lead them to the outside, to try and lead them to safety and save the women, the blonde women. And it's just stupid, but it's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun, even though it's really, really dumb. It's objectively it's one of the worst Hammer movies, but for fun level, it's in the middle. There's one film in this series that's objectively a much better film, but a lot less fun in this film. Right, now we're going to When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth, which is directed by Val Guest, who is one of the better directors of Hammer. He was a decent director. He did Quatermass Experiment, Quatermass 2. He did The Abominable Snowman. He did Yesterday's Enemy, which is one of the best Hammer films, like, ever. Blood in Something Island, or Camp in Blood Island, that's it. He was just a very solid director who knew what he was doing, who could pace a film properly, who understood what he needed. He did the Day That Caught Fire, which is not a Hammer film, but it's a very good film. So he's done a lot of good films. And for the much early part of his career, he was doing a lot of like muscular, strong films that had points to them. Yeah, they were in the exploitation genre with like Hammer production and stuff, but he was making good programmers. He was making films he's nothing to be ashamed of. So here he's making a film he probably wasn't. It probably was never his ambition to make a dinosaur caveman film, but he attacks it with a professional level, which makes this, for me, the best of the series by a mile. Even though the plot is not actually any better than any of the other plots, but it's just the way he shoots it and the way it's paced. It just feels a lot more muscle to the film, a lot more, like, the excitement level is always there, a lot more. The characters are more defined. You just feel there's much more to it, plus there's still dinosaurs there. It's not really Harryhausen this time, but it is basically, it's about the eclipse, because it was written based on a story by J.G. Ballard. Ballard just completely said that he wrote something and he completely ignored it. Which is not a surprise. But they wanted the name on the title. So it's about this weird eclipse that makes these cavemen decide to sacrifice blondes into the flame off cliffs. One of the blondes escapes from this and she's getting hunted. They think she's died. And then they realise she hasn't. She was actually taken by these fishermen from another tribe who are taking her to their village. So they go and hunt her. But at this point, she's fallen in love with the lead fisherman from that village. He wants to protect her. These other hunters come. She escapes. She learns how to deal with dinosaurs. Dinosaurs like her. They're to and fro from these other two villages who are starting to get on. And then when they find out she's alive and this man has found her and protected her, they try and kill the guy. He survives. He gets back and helps, and they try and survive when, of course, there's a giant earthquake that's destroying them, and tidal waves is going to destroy the island, or the coast, and they have to survive it. A lot of the tribes people who are all the villains are lost, but the good ones survive. In the end, there's dinosaurs who can swim and stuff, and it all sounds really stupid. But the way it's directed is wonderful, because even though these plot details are very basic, Guest treats them with seriousness. It's like, the girl is not looking for a romantic mate. There's another girl, of course, who wants him as their mate, and who's jealous. Of course there is, there always is, so they can have a catfight, you know. But the woman, the blonde woman who's escaped, just wants a decent life away from people trying to kill her. That's all she's wanting. Throughout the film, she just doesn't want to be left alone. And you can actually be with that ambition, think, yeah, that's a good ambition for this place. Just leave me alone. She follows the guy eventually finds her. And you know, that's just very basic stuff. But you'll like these characters. The fisherman is a decent character. He's tries to help his tribe. He's not malicious to anybody. He seems decent. There are these other tribes who are superstitious and these other people who are out to get him. But he's not been horrible. He's got his pal who has his back throughout it. There's all these dinosaur fights that are well paced. And you notice they're better paced than they were in the first one. Like, they had a limited budget, they could only use the dinosaurs when they needed dinosaurs. So they had a good director who understood when to put them in and when not to put them in, because it would take some time. So the scenes are paced right. You don't have too many dinosaurs, you only have when you need them. The scenes when you don't need them are suspense scenes. People getting into danger in pulpy situations, but it's well directed and you know why they're doing it, what's happening, and why each thing's happening. There's even a sign where it shows a woman being raped by this other caveman, and then she likes it, and it's a weird mating ritual that would not happen now, but it works for the time period for what they're portraying. Everything in this film just works. It shouldn't work. It's a silly plot. I mean, the plot resolution is silly. The whole thing about it's a time when the moon was not yet formed. Like, what? Scientifically inaccurate in so many ways. But it just works as Hokum. It just really works. It's a really enjoyable film. I'd much rather watch this one than when you use BC because just the plot is more interesting. The moves faster from getting to A to B to C. Even if they're going around in circles, ultimately plot, the A to B to C all work better and are clearer and there's no messing about. And it's much more memorable moments. When they attack, there's a bit when they get attacked by this big land creature because they're trying to kill it, and that's much more brutal about how they try and kill it because they set it alight. There's another cave dinosaur that they attack later. It takes them a while to kill it, and it's actually pretty brutal. And most of the dinosaur stuff feels just much more like these are animals, you have to deal with them. That's it. And she managed to deal with them by actually making them like her, so they trust her. While these other cavemen have just been idiots trying to kill it all the time. So it's just understandable. All this stuff's understandable. So it's a fun film. So it's a highlight of this series for me. Now the creatures that the world forgot is being released by Indicator, a new box set, and it's enjoyable box set. The film itself is, I would say, is the most boring of the films. It's directed by Don Chaffee, who did William Williams BC, and it became the film that was the caveman film for dinosaurs. Well, that should not be a problem ultimately, because the idea they had is because Michael Graves, who did Prehistoric Women, was interested in all this stuff, so he tried to make sure these, even though it's scientifically inaccurate, they'd get the cavemen better as they went along. So he was in production in this one and when Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth. In this one, it was no dinosaurs, but it was about the idea of having experts and having these tribes over time. You see the tribe lose its leader and again new leader who becomes a protagonist for a good first half of the film. You see them leaving their area that's been destroyed by volcanoes using stock footage from million years BC. You see their travels, they went into this blonde tribe. Some of the blonde people come with them. The guy gets a mate from that. They get 2 children. She dies in childbirth. One of the sons turns out bad. Another son's a nice kid. Eventually the guy dies. Eventually the leader dies, and it's like a fight between both of them to who takes over the tribe. The good kid does it, beats the guy in battle, but decides to leave the tribe because he wants to move on, try something different. The bad kid gets jealous, tries to hunt him down. There's fisticuffs. There's other stuff with other tribes. Like there's tribes they run into. There's one in a cave where they meet the star of the film, the blonde trumpet who's going to be the star of the film, even though she's at least to do no film. So she becomes the medic or something. The better parts of the kind of wise women of all the supernatural stuff, those are the best parts. This poor girl gets put in the poster and then she's nothing to do. But anyway, the film is about the tribe learning slowly. And it has some good scenes of hunting scenes towards the end as they have to climb this mountain and fight each other, and it's a very difficult fight for them, and eventually the bad brother gets killed, and the good brother lives to teach the tribe better ways. And it's about the tribe evolving slowly, even though they don't have language, they're evolving slowly to be a slightly better tribe. You know, it sounds better than it is. Because the problem with this film is there's a lot of theoretically interesting things. Like, there's no dinosaurs, it's about a tribe learning to get better. It's obviously influenced by 2001, because this came out after 2001. It's influenced by 2001, the early scenes where there's no talking at all. There's no even words that could be words. There's nothing, just grunts. But it's just learning how to deal with each other. The footage is shot is gorgeous. The shot in Africa, it looks great. But the story's not finished. The story just feels very basic, because they pitched this story to Columbia, who financed it, and they liked the story. But unfortunately, the story seemed more interesting in the page probably than it was in reality. And it was a story that needed more incident for what they were telling. Because they didn't have characters who were talking, they needed more incidents to get these points across. And it was just like small incidents of, oh yeah, the volcano takes place, then they walk a lot, and then this other thing happens, and they walk a lot more, then they find a place. Then there's the children born, and you have to get through almost the first 45 minutes before you get to any real, like, anything dramatic. If it's just wandering, and there's a volcano at some point, and there's a fight with someone, it's really comical and brutal, where a guy gets something through his head. There's things like that are there for 2 seconds and are gone, and then it takes a while to get to another interesting bit. They're throwing little fights, but there's not much consequence to them. I mean, people die, but it's like, it's pretty weightless, ultimately. It's like they haven't figured out the things they need to do in the first part to make it really dramatic. Instead, it's just kind of dramatic rather than really dramatic. It just feels like it hasn't really been figured out. It's like the volcano thing should be dramatic, but then they've got the fight for a new chief. Because it's just a volcano fight, that just feels anticlimactic, that fight. And then he's wandering on for a while, and it's like, you need something more there. The second half's better when you got the two sons. It's cliched, but at least there's drama there, so you're actually like, okay, I can actually get behind this, so I can enjoy this. And there's some good photography, and there's good locations they shot in, because they shot a lot of this location. So it was well done, it's just that the script wasn't there before they went and shot it. It was the problem, really. Ultimately, they just needed more time in script. So it manages to be much better than the Prehistoric Women, but more boring. So there you go. Well, that's my view in the first viewing of it. I might change my mind by rewatching it, but who knows when I'll rewatch this one, because it stuck out a bit boring to me. So, but they're all films I'd say they're of interest. But if you want to watch one, watch When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth. If you want to watch two, watch that plus 1 million years BC, and work your way down from there. So I hope you enjoyed this video. That's me for now. I'll see you later. Bye.